Awesome. Okay. This is Jonathan Peterson, Executive Vice President, Strategic Development for T360. I'm here with Derek Taylor, my cohort at T360, and Ashley Terrell, it's Chief Revenue Officer for Milestones. So maybe every one of you can a lot of people know me. I know a lot of people know Derek. Ashley, give him a little bit about your background and kind of tell us how you came to be at Milestones and
Yeah. So I've been with Milestones since about July of this year. I've been in the real estate tech industry for about 10 years. I was a real estate agent prior to that. Um, Prior, I worked at Buy Side, which is now Percy for a while. I worked at Real Estate Digital, which went through the Zome and the Constellation acquisition. So had a really great opportunity to do everything from working with MLSs to real estate brokerages to some of the major franchises, lenders, and now I'm actually starting to get into title a little bit too. So get to be a little bit of everywhere. I joined Milestones because I've been watching it over the last year or so and watching what Dustin Gray, our CEO, has developed. He's moved very quickly. It's been really cool to see. Mike Malinowski is our COO, and him and I formerly worked together at Constellation. And so he kind of kept me updated on what was going on, and I finally came on board. So
great. Well, it's interesting that the category that the Milestones as an organization's in has gotten a lot of attention. At T360 and particularly in our Tech 500, we track a lot of categories of technology, about 90 categories of technology, and we're seeing a lot of attention starting to be placed in what I would probably call like post-close, mover concierge, kind of repeat and referral business follow-up, but it feels like Milestones almost is creating the opportunity for even a newer category. Want to kind of talk a little bit about that, kind of the category that encompasses everything that really Milestones is doing. So, what your thoughts are, maybe Derek and as well, Ashley, if you've got some thoughts around it too.
yeah, well, so I kind of have a funny story about when I started to come on board and as I was making my decisions and why I picked coming to Milestones. And one of the odd enough things was, so I have ribbons behind me. I have a horse, and I compete. I compete all over the country, mostly the West Coast. And when I bought him, I got a hub, and it was like basically a client portal for me to manage anything for my horse, whether if it was his passport number, his United States Equestrian Federation number, his show schedule, his vaccination records, anything that had to do with him, I could manage out of there. And just for some context, the equestrian community, they literally just launched eSign in November.
Hmm.
So the fact that there was a hub for my horse, and I don't have one for my home, but yet this community just launched eSign is kind of hilarious.
Yeah,
And
it's
so,
kind of a testament to how behind some of the things in the real estate industry tend to be. It's very transactional in the business, and I think we need to move towards less transactional and more continued engagement.
well, and that's exactly what it is. It's a place that I can go to manage everything for his name is Cash, but homeowners should have that same thing. And that's what Dustin's built. And so I'm very big on relationships with people. I'm very big on, relationships, whether it's with work, personal, anything I do. And I think for a realtor, it's very important, or a loan officer, or really anybody else in this industry. It's one of the biggest relationship-based industries out there, right? So to be able to give something back to a homeowner to make homeownership more simple and help really aid them in non-transactional times, that's, I think, to your point, Jonathan, a missing piece to this whole thing.
I like the way Milestones kind of fits into everyone's life. Looking back to my grandparents and my parents, everyone who had important information about their house, they put it into like a fireproof safe, and then that kind of got closed away somewhere. And you guys have kind of created this, fireproof safe with the ability to always have someone there to talk to, ask questions, gather information. It's a really more of an interactive way to store, manage, and control for the consumer the information that's most important about the house, and at the same time allow the agent and former broker to kind of be there for any additional questions that they might have, or provide them with any other additional people that can help them in that journey, right? Because we talk about that post-close journey from once they're closed until they buy a new house, which could be 5 to 7 to 11 years. That cycle keeps getting a little bit longer. So it's always been more and more difficult to have the agent really follow that person and maintain the relationship through that cycle. And what you're building, what you built at Milestones is really helpful in that.
Yeah, I think to your point too, and it's like as the realtor is trying to give something of value back to the homeowner, there's going to be a lot of other transactions that happen through homeownership. Like the purchase and the sale, to your point, only happens every 6, 7, 8 progressively longer years. And so homeowners are trying to figure out, how do I make my home more livable? And then how does the realtor still stay positioned as that home advisor? And same thing with the loan officer. How are they positioned as not only being able to tell you, okay, if you're going to make your home more livable, let me help you understand what this asset value is worth to you and how much you could potentially pull out of it to make your home more livable. And then let me personally recommend somebody that I know is going to take care of you in the process. You know, that's really a lot of what our focus is where can we make sure that we're helping that homeowner when they're not necessarily buying and selling a home. So when they do it again, they're doing it with that same realtor and that same loan officer.
Yeah, and you make a good point there with really changing the narrative of how the agent engages rather than be transactional. It's changing the role to be a home advisor, almost like a financial advisor to some degree, because it's the biggest it's biggest investment someone's ever going to make typically in their life. And I use the real world example in my case of like, I bought my home, I need an electrician. The first person I texted to find out if I could find a good electrician was my realtor, but that's not what everybody else does typically. And yet the realtors have such a Rolodex of people that they've worked with and advisors. And so it really kind of changes that narrative around and to more of a long-term strategist or long-term advisor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a vet for my horse, right? She's the one co-branded in my hub for him, and I wouldn't go to anybody else besides her and my trainer for advice. Same thing with your financial advisor that's probably giving you a place to manage all of your documents about your stock portfolio and everything else, or your CPA for all of your tax information. Why would you go to anybody besides your realtor and your loan officer for your home?
Yeah, that important ability to curate expertise and put it into one spot and make it easily accessible is, I think, paramount to our future success with building those relationships. Because what else are you going to talk about other than their kids or life events or things like that are important? But that's a personal relationship, and you got to maintain the business relationship through it by providing key relevant information at key relevant times to put yourself, at the top of mind all the time. When people are thinking about my house, they should be thinking about their agent and their broker.
So tell us a little bit, taking a step back, for those who maybe aren't familiar with Milestones or even familiar with kind of some of the post-close, category companies, give us a little bit of insight on what are the things that Milestones offers within the product, within the platform.
So the features for the homeowner, and because this is really a homeowner experience, this isn't supposed to replace any other technology that exists today. This is something that is a UI, it's an experience for the homeowner. There's a little piece of it for the agent to log into if they want to, but ultimately we integrate in and sync nicely with transaction management systems, CRMs, anything like that, but it gives the tool back so the homeowner can manage that home. And it's everything from understanding or even getting friendly reminders to change your air filter, or, where I live here in Southern California, you get a notification that says, hey, fire season's coming. Here's the 6 things you need to do to, prepare. Jonathan, I know you can relate to that where you live, where Derek might get something different down in Texas. And so there's so many things that have to do with maintaining the home on a day-to-day basis that I think people just forget. I'm embarrassed to say, and I'm going to say it, but I'm embarrassed. I haven't changed my air filter, or I didn't, for 3 years because I just didn't think about it. If I'm just at a maintenance reminder to tell me to just do that simple task that takes 2 seconds, it'd probably make the quality of air and other things in my house much better. So that's one of the many things, something coming from the realtor, and we co-brand it to optionally the loan officer, because we want to give that opportunity for the two to work together and really promote other like ancillary transactions for the real estate brokerage. So there's that, there's understanding your home value, your in home equity, and how can you leverage that asset and some of that equity to potentially do more. So we do have full property search. Maybe if somebody wants to look at, do I need to get a new home? Do I want to maybe buy an investment property? Or perhaps do I find a contractor? And in our, what we call our home services section, it's basically, instead of being an Angie's list, it's going to be a Derek's list or a Jonathan's list or an Ashley's list. It's something very personalized for the real estate broker or the real estate agent to be able to give back to the homeowner of their list of professionals. And then alternatively, the broker, if they do have some of their own in-house businesses, they can promote those in there as well. So they're capturing those additional transactions that are happening in the non-buyer sale transactional times. So really taking all of the pieces of, you know, flipping through Zillow and then maybe going to your monthly home equity report, to going to Yelp to find a service provider, all of those fragmented things that are in so many different places, it's all pulled into one. On top of that, we're storing all the documents. So again, I'm a little bit of a mess. My closing documents are in a drawer behind me. My appliance warranties are in a drawer downstairs. I don't have paint swatches. I still have the empty cans piled up in the garage so I don't forget what color it is. And so HOA documents are God knows where. And so they're all in these different places and you're constantly having to look for these things. But if we can just pull it all in there in one place, and boom, there it is for the homeowner. And it's just, let's make life simple. Let's give that instant gratification of having all things in one place.
That's great. And that's, it's definitely needed. And to finally, I know you mentioned it, but to chime on to that, it's branded to the realtor, the agent, or the company. So there's awareness of their involvement in this, offering this essentially. And what are costs associated with it? What is, if I'm a consumer, am I paying for this?
Consumer is not. So this is a tool where we have, I call it kind of like a, you know, a white label fee. We don't have a huge licensing cost. We have other opportunities to make revenue, and happy to talk to people about that further if they ever want to reach out. But you know, our cost is going to range anywhere today between 5 to 25 per user. And so we have opportunity to scale that down even more with some of the big enterprises, and we have other opportunity for that. But that's unlimited homeowners. So what we're trying to do is help them get all of their customers into the tool, using it, you know, making sure that they have that adoption. It's basically working for them. And ultimately, I think if we can reduce long-term customer acquisition costs for these people over the years, because they have those relationships. If you have relationships, you don't have to spend money to go out and get new leads. And 25 bucks a month is nothing to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, very simple, very simple. So, no, it's exciting. Again, I think the big thing, the sort of takeaway here is also just changing. Again, to reiterate, it's just changing the narrative of how a realtor engages with their client. Changing that role. I think that's an important differentiation. I think that definitely as the market shifts and people, you know, try to stay engaged, this is a great way for them to stay engaged.
Yeah, it's changing that mindset from the transactional mindset to the relational mindset. We know that about 12% of agents or consumers do business with the same agent when it's time for them to do another real estate transaction. That means 88% of the time that relationship was mostly transactional, right? And so having something like Milestones working for you to help you build that relationship, I think it's going to be something really invaluable, and it really will change the way people think about our industry.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. Well, it's exciting. So how if someone's interested in finding out more about Milestones or getting in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
On our website, milestones.ai, we have forms if you want to fill out for a demo request. Optionally, my email is Ashley, ASHLEY @milestones.ai, and happy to chat with anybody that wants to hear a little bit more about what we're doing.
And we'll include a link to that page you mentioned in this LinkedIn Live. But really appreciate your time today, and exciting to hear how we may have a new category of technology that we're now tracking. You've created kind of a new channel. It's interesting.
Yeah, we're excited.
Great. Well, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Jonathan. Thanks, Terrell.
Thank you.